What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of the best tips for skinny wide receivers. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver or a quarterback and would like to train with us this offseason, we're going to be traveling out to 15 more states across the U.S. for 2-day long QB and wide receiver camps. Next up on our camp tour, we'll be coming out to San Francisco, then Miami, Las Vegas, Charlotte, Portland, Dallas, Nashville, Chicago, Buffalo, Atlanta, Houston, Philly, Detroit, Boise, and LA. So if you guys would like to train with us or local to any one of these cities, check out that very first link in the description below. That's where all the info is. Again, very first link in that description below. We'd love to see you there. Let's get back to this video. So now, first things first, when you are a skinnier wide receiver, you have to understand that you cannot force your routes. You cannot force your releases off the ball, especially against physical type DB. So what this wide receiver is going to be running here is like a 10 to 12-yard out route, and he has an outside shade kind of catch technique coverage DB. So what is catch technique? That's when a DB is sitting maybe like 2 to 3 yards off, and his goal is literally to get hands, be as physical as possible, and reroute us. Essentially catch us to get hands and disrupt timing with, you guessed it, the quarterback, right? So skinnier wide receivers are usually maybe sometimes on the faster side of things, right? So we have an outside shade guy. His goal, protect the outside. Do not let us run an out route, a corner, a fade, anything outside breaking. So skinnier guys naturally are like, oh, well, I'm just going to go run around this guy. If you try to do that on the skinnier side of things against a bigger dude, he is going to be very physical, reroute you, and force you all the way to that sideline. So we have to get very comfortable taking what he gives us. What do I mean by that? Let's play this thing full speed. So he comes off, he attacks the DB, and he takes the inside release, gives a move, and gives the quarterback room. Guys, as a skinnier wide receiver, our game is not hand fighting. Our game is quickness, and our game is IQ. So that's what this wide receiver exemplifies here. So again, DB's outside shade. Let's attack him outside. Let's make him think that we are going to the outside, so he might move, he might hesitate, he might try to get hands and stop himself, and then we take the inside release. Now you see when this receiver is attacking him, he's closing space, but he's not closing too much space. That's something shorter guys out of the slot, skinny guys out of the slot, you got to understand. Being physical is not our game. We do not weigh as much as these guys. We are probably not as strong as these guys. So when you go attack them and you close the space, let's keep some distance. Let's stay at like an arm's length. I think of it almost like a UFC fighter or a boxer. They talk about range. You want to stay out of that linebacker's range. You do not want him to let him jab. You do not want to let him throw a straight. Stay out of his range. Let's make him miss. Let's close the space, obviously, but let's stay out of the range. And you see how he takes the inside release now. Now, not only is he able to stack over the top, he's quicker than the DB, but he gave the quarterback room. So fellas, do not try to force your releases and your routes. If he were to come off here, like let's say for example, he had to run a post and the DB was inside shade. If you guys try to force it, he's going to freaking get hands on you and reroute you all the way over to the middle. Take what he gives us, use your quickness, use your smarts and your football IQ to get separation on your routes. Okay, so now next example is going to be of Tank Dell. And Tank Dell, like obviously one of the main scrutinies of him coming into the draft, you know, out of college, obviously, was that he's very, very small, right? So he's not the tallest dude from what I've heard, and he's very, very skinny, right? But obviously, dude, like this guy can freaking move, and this guy's one of the best rookie wide receivers in the class, obviously. He's definitely the best route runner, at least in my opinion, right? So what can you do if you're on the skinnier side of things? And another thing that you could do is work on your speed. Guys, it is very, very tough. Like if you're on the skinnier side of things, like even if you're a taller guy, you know, it's tougher to be physical. And like as a receiver, like there's kind of two types of receivers, right? Like there's like the one who's really quick, really shifty. And then there's kind of the bigger dude who's maybe not the best route runner, maybe not the fastest, but he's like a possession guy, great hands. Like guys, if you're smaller, skinnier, shorter, like you got to have some speed. It is so tough to be skinny, short, and slow. Like it's very, very tough to make it at any level. So Tank Dell shows that. Obviously, he's crazy fast. But I'm not necessarily talking about being faster than the DB. I am talking about accelerating out of your breaks, accelerating off the ball, accelerating off your releases to make sure that if I get any kind of separation with this DB, I keep it. I don't sacrifice it. I keep space between us as a skinnier guy, shorter guy. So you see what Dell's doing here is he's got like this inside shade press coverage look. DB's trying to stop the slant, the 5-yard in. Like he's trying to force everything outside. So Dell does a typical release called the diamond release. release, right? I'm sure a lot of you have heard of a diamond release, but a diamond release is where you attack the outside shoulder of the DB. Like it kind of looks like a diamond, you know what I mean? Like the first part of it, like that 40, that's a terrible diamond, but like the 45-degree angle, like that's like the part that we're talking about here. So you want to attack his outside shoulder on this diamond release and slip back underneath. But when I get separation, right, like DBs work on their recovery speed all day. So as a skinnier dude, smaller guy, you got to worry about the details. The details is what gets you open. You're not going to be able to just manhandle a guy. The details of route running is what gets you open. So he gets his DB to commit, gets him to break, and I want you to see how he comes out of this break. He accelerates. He runs full speed. It's a race to the ball. To this point, it is a race with you and the DB. Because as a shorter guy, we don't want to be catching in traffic. As a skinnier guy, I don't want to be catching in traffic. I want that DB to be as far away from me as possible. I don't want to run away from the DB, but I want as much separation as possible. Because if you're on the skinny, smaller side, usually you're probably pretty good in open space. So guys, let's make sure we focus on those details. We know what releases to use. We know how to execute my routes. But if it's a chance for me to keep separation, I keep it. Same idea. Let's say this is press coverage inside shade and he's running a fade. You give him a move inside. I don't want receivers looking back for the ball right away, allowing the DB to recover. We don't want the physical DB. We don't want the battle, the hand fight, the leaning into each other on the route. We want as much space as possible if I'm on the skinny side. So that's what you got to focus on. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job exemplifying that detail of accelerating out of that break. Okay, so this is a great example of something you skinnier wide receivers are going to have to get used to. Let's say, maybe you're not the strongest, maybe you're not the biggest. What do you usually get from DBs and man-to-man coverage? Physical dudes who want to get hands on you, who are bulkier than you, stockier than you, probably stronger than us, who want to just get hands and embarrass us off the line. Now, there are ways to combat this. There are ways to get around this. There are ways to beat this, but you have to be very, very precise, and you got to know how to structure your release. So this is a great example of a wide receiver beating this physical, right up close and personal press coverage with a lateral release. So something I talk a lot about, we talked about it in the first example, right? Like DB was off outside shade, catch technique like 2 to 3 yards, right? So what did this receiver have to do? He had to attack him, but he also had to close the space. He had to attack vertically, right? So I talk a lot about that. That's a big focus of the training that I do. This big focus of the stuff that I put my receivers through. But a lot of times what we work on is lateral movement. What if this guy's right up in my face? What if I have no space to close? And again, you have to have a plan for it. You got to be able to execute. So this receiver does a perfect example of an inside lateral jab release to get some space, and that sets him up for space at the top of the break, right? And again, you see the attention to detail. And this guy isn't maybe the skinniest dude in the world, but you see the attention to detail on the route, running back to the ball, accelerating the ball. Let's go turn up field and score. Let's keep space from this DB at all times, right? So if he's going to be real physical off the ball, got no space to close, but I still want to threaten him because he is inside shade. So if I just take off and go run, what's he going to do? Get hands. We never want to force my releases. We never want to run away from those physical type DBs. I know a lot of you guys who are like skinnier, shorter side of things, like you guys probably play a lot out of the slot, right? So like I'm going to drop an example here real quick. What I mean by not running away from guys is this. I don't want to just run away from the inside press, but also like let's say this is the outside receiver. Let's say this is the slot and you got a linebacker right here. You got to run like a corner route. I don't want to just run away from a linebacker and then break to my corner because I got there too fast. I want to go at him. I want to keep that space. I want to keep that range like a boxer, like a fighter, but I still want to attack him. And that's what this receiver does here in this press. It's the same concept, guys. Lateral move. Let's attack his leverage. Let's step outside his frame. Let's sell with my hips, sell with my shoulders. That gets him to hold to the inside. Now I could go outside. It's simple, guys. You got to keep your movements simple, but you have to be smart about it, especially when you're not the strongest and you may not be the biggest. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by this receiver giving us inside jab, holding the DB, accelerating up, and then winning on that stop or curl route. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, we are traveling out to 15 more states this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So again, we're coming all the way out to San Francisco, Dallas, Texas, Boise, Idaho, the works. Again, all these camps last year, all 15 sold out very, very fast. So if you guys would like to train with us again, we'd love to have you there. I suggest you get your spot now. So very first link in that description below. Again, look forward to meeting all of you. I'll see you guys next time.